The Ku Klux Klan is one of the oldest racist cults in the United States. It emerged after the American Civil War around the 1960s as a secret society of white men who wanted to restore white control in the South. The group targeted newly freed Black Americans and anyone who supported racial equality. They wore white hoods to hide their identities and used terror, from cross burnings to violence, as tools of intimidation. At its core, the Klan believed that white Protestants were superior to all others. They saw immigrants, Catholics, and Jews as threats to their version of America. Even though their power declined over the decades, small Klan factions still exist today, often rebranding themselves as heritage groups online, but their legacy remains a warning about how fear and identity can twist into hatred. Black Lives Matter and its controversies. The Black Lives Matter movement began in 2013 after repeated cases of police brutality against Black Americans. Its goal was simple and legitimate: to demand accountability and equality. Millions supported it worldwide. In 2020, Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation reported raising over $90 million in donations in connection with the protests following George Floyd's death. The organization ended the 2021 and 2022 fiscal year with roughly $30 million in assets, even after major grant making and spending. Questions raised include where all the funds went, the transparency of spending, real estate acquisitions, internal contracts, and distribution of grants. It's fair to say that many supporters and critics alike have questioned whether the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation effectively used its large donations to directly help Black communities in the ways people expected. Local BLM organizers in several U.S. cities said they struggled to access funding despite being on the front lines of protests. How can an organization raise $90 million in the name of Black lives, but ordinary Black neighborhoods see little to no benefit? Nazi Germany and the Aryan myth, the most destructive racist cult in modern history, formed under Adolf Hitler's Nazi regime in the 1930s. Nazism mixed extreme nationalism with the belief in a so-called Aryan master race. It claimed that Germans were racially superior and that Jews, Roma, and others were inferior or dangerous. This cult-like ideology wasn't just political. It was spiritual for its followers. Nazi rallies were designed like religious ceremonies. Symbols, chants, and loyalty oaths replaced individual thought. Ordinary people were drawn in through propaganda that turned prejudice into purpose. The result was one of the greatest atrocities in history, the Holocaust, where 6 million Jews and millions of others were systematically murdered. The lesson from Nazism is how racism can hide behind false science, fear, and national pride until it becomes a machine of destruction. The EFF and the apartheid ideology. Apartheid wasn't a single cult, but a system of institutionalized racism in South Africa from 1948 to the early 1990s. It was built on the belief that white South Africans, mainly of European descent, should rule over Black Africans. However, this became controversial with the creation of the Economic Freedom Fighters in 2013. The EFF was formed after Julius Malema was expelled from the African National Congress, ANC, for disciplinary violations, including statements seen as divisive and inflammatory. It positions itself as a radical anti-capitalist party aiming to address economic inequality, land dispossession, and social injustices left unresolved by the ANC government. The party strongly supports taking land from white South African farmers to redistribute it to Black South Africans, arguing that historical dispossession during colonialism and apartheid requires corrective action. Malema's actions have drawn widespread criticism both domestically and internationally. In 2023, during a rally, he led chants of "Kill the Boer, the farmer," which were condemned by various political leaders, including John Steenhuisen of the Democratic Alliance, who described Malema as a bloodthirsty tyrant and warned that he was inciting civil war. More recently, in October 2025, Malema was found guilty of multiple firearms charges stemming from a 2018 incident where he discharged an assault rifle into the air during a party event in the Eastern Cape province. The court convicted him of unlawful possession of a firearm and ammunition, discharging a firearm in a public place, and reckless endangerment. He faces sentencing in January 2026, and if sentenced to more than a year, he risks losing his seat in parliament. Atomwaffen Division, this is one of the most extreme modern white supremacist groups. Founded in the United States in the 2010s, Atomwaffen glorified terrorism and violence. Members praised mass murderers and produced propaganda urging racial war. Several were arrested for murder plots and bomb threats. Governments in the US, UK, and Canada have since labeled Atomwaffen and its spin-offs as terrorist organizations. The Japanese Ainu and Burakumin discrimination cults. Not all racist cults come from the West. In Japan, for centuries, certain social groups like the Ainu or Burakumin were treated as impure or inferior. Some extremist nationalist movements in the 20th century promoted myths of Japanese racial purity, insisting that Japan was a divine nation meant to rule others. This led to the justification of invasions across Asia before and during World War II. These beliefs acted like a cult at the national scale, glorifying the nation, dehumanizing outsiders, and demanding total obedience to the group. Proud Boys. The Proud Boys began in 2016 as a self-described pro-Western fraternity, but it evolved into a far-right militant group involved in political violence. Many members embrace white nationalist rhetoric, though leaders deny being racist. They became infamous for violent street clashes and for their role in the January 6th Capitol riot. Today, several leaders face prison sentences, showing how online radicalization can spill into real-world extremism. Golden Dawn. Greece Golden Dawn emerged as a neo-fascist political party that glorified the ancient Greek race and attacked migrants. Members marched with torches and militarized symbols. After years of racist assaults and a high-profile murder, Greek courts classified Golden Dawn as a criminal organization in 2020. It's a reminder that extremist ideas can disguise themselves as nationalism or cultural pride. Russian Imperial Movement. This ultra-nationalist group in Russia blends Orthodox Christian symbols with white supremacist ideology. The Russian Imperial Movement, RIM, is a far-right Russian ultra-nationalist organization founded around 2002 in or around St. Petersburg by Stanislav Anatolievich Vorobiev. It runs paramilitary camps and supports violent movements abroad. The movement links Russian identity closely with the Russian Orthodox Church, seeing other religions or secularism as threats. Anti-liberalism, anti-communism, and anti-immigration. It rejects liberal democracy, views the Soviet era as a time of troubles, and is hostile to immigrants, minorities, and non-Russians. The U.S. government officially labeled it a terrorist organization, the first white supremacist group to receive that designation. Every racist cult eventually collapses because hate cannot sustain itself, it isolates followers, drains trust, and eats its own members from within. What replaces it is cooperation, the slow recognition that no race owns morality or intelligence. Whether in the American South, Eastern Europe, or Africa, the cure has always been the same: education, accountability, and empathy.